Hi, my name is Jenna Hayes, and I explored the question, how can institutions effectively reduce their negative impact on the environment? To answer this question, I first considered what knowledge is necessary for institutions to obtain, what qualities the establishment's leaders should have, and which types of organization are most successful when attempting to decrease harmful environmental influence. Our impact on the environment has degraded the sustainability of the Earth. Basically, sustainability is how our descendants will survive, because nothing on Earth will last forever. So without proper restrictions on our resources, our supply will deplete and leave us in a grave situation. Institutions should also gain information on the current U.S. regulations. These laws are important in protecting the environment. As the Harvard Law Review said concerning the Clean Air Act, given the Act's significance to the protection of public health and the environment, weakening its regulatory strength is likely to have widespread repercussions. Each of these acts states certain standards that establishments must abide by. For example, the EPA states, stationary sources include facilities such as factories and chemical plants, which must install pollution control equipment and meet specific emission limits under the Clean Air Act. Once institutions retain the knowledge concerning their environmental situation, a plan can be developed on how they can reduce their negative impact. As stated in the struggle to govern the commons, this information collected must be congruent in scale with environmental events. There are three main traits of leaders that I found are advantageous when attempting to help the environment. The first, being open-minded, is pivotal. Without being receptive to scientific conclusions, harm and damage can stem from ignorance. A good example of this is Donald Trump's opinion on climate change. He has stated multiple times that he believes global warming is either a hoax or unimportant. President Trump even went as far as deciding to pull the U.S. out of the international climate agreement reached in Paris to reduce carbon dioxide emissions. Much concern comes from this action because it supports the claim that our president is ignorant to information provided by credible science. A second important trait is the ability to cooperate and adjust to certain situations. For example, an executive of a company who is willing to change the way he uses his resources by, say, switching to a clean energy source will decrease their damage on the Earth. However, a stubborn executive will keep the same systems in place and therefore impair the Earth even more. The ability to appear credible to employees is the third quality of an effective leader. In other words, the leaders must be seen as legitimate so that the people who function underneath them will not attempt to disobey the rules of the institution. This concept also includes the idea that the leaders must not be unfair or biased, because they will then lose credibility with their subordinates. The third topic considered for the reduction of institutions' environmental impact is the type of organization implemented in the establishment. Two of these include the environmental management system and the concept of complex authority. An EMS, according to the EPA, is a framework that helps an organization achieve its environmental goals through consistent review, evaluations, and improvements of its environmental performance. Each EMS is unique because establishments must adapt the framework, which can include setting environmental objectives and establishing programs to their individual needs and goals. Using this system can be very effective because the institutions are able to modify the frame of the EMS. The second type of organization is the notion of layering authority within the establishment to induce rule compliance. As the struggle to govern the commons stated, institutional arrangements must be complex, redundant, and nested in many layers. Catastrophic failures have often resulted when central governments have exerted sole authority over resources. In other words, an employee will be less obedient if they do not think there is any authenticity to the consequences of their misbehavior. So the institution that creates its personalized EMS, along with a complex arrangement of authority, will be successful in reducing their environmental harm. Contrary to some views, The topic of climate change is one of great importance and must be treated with urgency because we only get one Earth. The institution that will be most effective in supporting the environment is the one that is knowledgeable about current environmental situations, has open-minded, cooperative, and credible leaders, and possesses a structured environmental management system along with diversified power. Thank you.
How did the stimulus materials inspire your original research?
So the one stimulus packet that I used a lot in my research was the struggle to govern the commons. And I think part of the reason why is because when I was first going over it and annotating it, I came across one paragraph that talked about human ecology and how humans have affected the earth so much that we've created kind of like our own environment and ecology. And I think that was really like cool to me, and I really wanted to look more into it and how we can stop that ecology from being negative on other organisms.
If you had more time, what additional research would you conduct related to the issue?
I think I would research more about what scientists think right now our future will look like if we don't change something in our effects on the environment. So like, what research are they doing right now and studies that are going on that will show us kind of what our future will look like.
All right. Thank you, Mia.